What's up, Tim? Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes as we sorted that out ourselves. You know, we love each other. We're a family, but sometimes we go back and forth. Tim, you were in that Browns family. What was your take on Sunday's game? It was the first time you've ever texted me yesterday, and it wasn't the happiest, most positive text I've ever read in my entire life.
Man, it felt like I was watching a game from 1999 Browns or something. That was freaking awful, man. The tackling was poor. Everything was awful, turning the football over. They got out-coached. Everything you can go down the list and check every box. They did it poorly in that football game. So that was a tough one to watch.
Tim, quick question to you, bruh. As a pro to pro. You think, pro to pro. Look, that's a funny video. That's a funny video.
Oh,
that's a funny video.
I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, Tim, here's a question to you, right? Because, I'm pretty laissez-faire about it now because I had the same impression you did, right? And I wasn't a football player. I'm sitting here watching this thing. To me, they were pulseless yesterday.
Yeah.
Stefanski refused. Well, you see you don't have a pulse. You have to make a change. I don't care if it's just for that day. He didn't give himself any life. To me, Tim, it just seems like people are like, they don't hear him anymore. They're like checking out on him. This is like week 5, week 6. We're checking out. Did you see that?
It did feel that way. I totally agree with you. I didn't see any emotion or pride from the players. I didn't think the game plans were very good on offense or defense. I mean, Nick Chubb runs the ball 12 times and you throw it 45 times with Jacoby Brissett. I know you're down and you got to throw the ball a little bit, but you can't give Nick Chubb 12 carries. I mean, that's just crazy. Yeah, I didn't see any emotion from the guys. I didn't see guys out there playing with a whole lot of pride. So it was, like I said, man, that was a tough one to watch all the way around. Just, not only did they not perform well, like you said, they just didn't have the emotion or the energy that you want to see in a game like this. And, it was a tough one.
Tim, when you play back then, you coming back in '99, it's an expansion team, right? So the expectation levels aren't there. But you've also played on teams as you moved along, and the Browns start to have those expectations. Have you had a situation where you've known that other guys on the team have quit, basically, have checked out? I'm already on vacation, or he'll be gone by the time I'm out of here. What are the telltale signs of that in the locker room from you being there, seeing from a perspective like, man, this dude ain't doing what he used to? How do you know when the team's giving up?
Yeah, I have been there. My second year, 2000 with the Browns, when Chris Palmer was the head coach, obviously 99 was a tough year being an expansion team. And then in 2000, we got off to a pretty good start. Then I broke my thumb in week 5, so I was out the rest of the year. And then Doug Peterson played, and we went through about 5 or 6 different quarterbacks, and the season just went downhill really quick. And as it went on, even though I wasn't playing that year, I was just being in the locker room and watching guys. I could see guys were checking out. They knew the coach was going to get fired. And you could see the preparation lacked off. They weren't watching as much film. They weren't staying after practice. They weren't doing all the things that you see an energized football team doing. They weren't committed to the process of, this is what we got to do to win the game this week. Everybody was just kind of going through the motions, to be honest with you. So I've seen that firsthand, what that looks like, and it's a bad feeling when you walk into the building. Awful. You go to team meetings, and there's just no hope. You don't feel any hope whatsoever. You just like, here we go again. We're going through the motions. We know we're going to get hammered this week against whoever you're playing, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, whoever it may be. So it's just that lack of hope when you walk in the building. There's no juice and no energy in the air. So it's an awful feeling, and I certainly remember that one well.
Tim, what would be the downside of giving Josh Dobbs an opportunity here? I mean, Jacoby Brissett's not good at anything. There's no part. I can't point to anything. He's terrible in the fourth quarter. His accuracy is awful. He's at 1 turnover a game, which was supposed to be his strength. He's not a good athlete. I mean, I got nothing positive on Jacoby. I know Josh Dobbs, everybody's like, well, he's not an NFL player. He's not an NFL player. He probably isn't, but he's never played. So how do we know for sure? I do know he's a much better athlete than Jacoby. Is there really any downside to giving him a shot, maybe getting some energy, as crazy as it may seem? I know everybody wants to back up all the time. I'm not usually that guy, but as somebody who lived it, what do you say?
Yeah, I think Jacoby's played okay until this week. Obviously he played a terrible game against New England, but other than that, I was actually I thought he exceeded expectations of what I thought he was going to be for the first few games. Just managing the game. He was taking care of the ball until, like you said, until the fourth quarter. He threw some very badly timed interceptions, in crunch time. But I think as far as giving Dobbs a shot, I think it's a couple more games out. If Jacoby continues to play like he did against New England, then you certainly have to look at bringing Dobbs in. At least Dobbs is going to be an athlete. We saw what he did in the preseason as far as running around, making plays with his legs, and he did bring some juice to that offense. When he was on the field, you saw a little bit extra bounce in guys' steps. I don't know how good a player he is. I saw him play in college, and he was a pretty good player at Tennessee. But I haven't seen him play at all in the NFL. No one has. But I think we're probably a game or two away of Jacoby playing like he did against New England before we see Josh.
So let me say this: we're not replacing a starter. I think Jacoby Brissett is a guy that really probably could get you by for 2 or 3 games.
He's a placeholder.
That's it. That's all he is, right? So we've gone beyond his limits.
And that's what he was signed to be.
Right.
Was 2 to 3 games.
But
not
I will say this though, Tim, to your statement there. If you have any hope, because they sold us, everybody here, on this, if we can just get to game 11, we'll have 2 or 3 games to play around with the Brissett here. If you're trying to get to game 11, because you take a couple more L's, you out the mix here. You're gonna be gone, right? So, do you go back with a pulseless team, or do you inject some infusion in here? That's all I saw yesterday. I was like, man, people check it out here. You can see it.
Yeah, I saw that too. In my opinion, I think what they need to do right now is just say, we're going to run the football. We need to say we're going into every game. We're not going to put the game in Jacoby Brissett's hands like I felt like they were trying to do against New England. Just give it to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Let him throw, some bootlegs and play actions off of that. But don't ask him to do too much, man. They asked him to do a little bit too much, I thought, early in that game. He threw some interceptions, trying to force the football down the field. Just turn around and hand the ball to Chubb. Play ball control, run the play clock down, shorten the game. Keep your defense off the field. Those are what the things I would do, right now until we see, hopefully Jacoby can get it going and play like he did the first few games of the year where I thought, he managed the game pretty well. So, it's a tough situation right now. This thing is right on the verge, like you guys have mentioned, man. This thing's right on the verge of getting really, really bad really quickly for this organization if they don't find a way to win a football game, and it doesn't get any easier. We got Baltimore and Cincinnati coming up. So 2 really good quarterbacks. They're going to have to find a way to put some points on the board against those 2 teams. So it's a tough road ahead for this team right now.
Let me ask you this really quickly. I want to play just a real quick game. Say, for instance, we play the Browns, Patriots played last week. Say, for instance, they play again coming up here on Sunday, and you simply switch coaching staffs. You take Stefanski and put him on the Patriots. You take Bill Belichick and put him on the Browns.
38-15 Browns.
What do you think the score is? What's the outcome?
Oh, I think certainly the Browns win that game. I think I really
He's the greatest coach of all time. Of course they win the game.
We're talking about the greatest coach of all time. I think you can do that around the league with a lot of teams that Bill Belichick's going to face. I think he's the greatest coach ever for a reason. He can take your players and beat his, and he can take his players and beat yours. So, I would certainly put my money on Belichick if they switch roles for and play the game next week.
In fairness, they've been a 500 team with no outstanding talent, the Patriots.
Well, yeah, but
Right.
we're 2-4, and our roster is way better.
My point is that
Brady left New England, they're a 500 team.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But
my point is, it's unfair to say switch Stefanski. If you said, what about switch Stefanski with Tomlin? That may be a little more fair. But
I can give you 5 coaches. McVay, I could give you Tomlin, I could give you Andy Reid. I take the coach in San Diego. I might even gonna take Harbaugh.
No,
I can give you 7
coach in
coaches.
San Diego hasn't won anything.
If you can get those guys, go ahead and fire Kevin and go get one of those guys.
Right.
They're not coming
Yeah,
here.
they're not coming here.
I'd take Sean Payton. Otherwise, I'm sticking with Stefanski.
I'm not even taking. Are we sure Sean Payton's a good coach, or did he have a good quarterback? He had a Hall of Fame quarterback. How do we know he's a good coach? How do we know?
Well, here's the thing. I think, and we've talked about this year. There's very little difference between all these teams. I mean, and that's the NFL. There's very little difference. Here's what makes the difference: quarterback and coach.
Yes.
That's it. And usually you need both.
And the greatest coach of all time is 500 since he lost the greatest quarterback of all time.
He is, but when you look at what he had, I looked at their receivers before the game yesterday. I'm like, wait, what? How did it get this bad? They got a pile of garbage over there. They got some good defensive players, and I like their defense.
They've always had unknown receivers.
I know, but
That's
when
true.
you have a quarterback, you're okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Or if you have a coach. So because the league, it's so razor thin, the coach is going to make a difference in a lot of the close games. That's where we've been really subpar. Now, yesterday was a blowout, but prior to yesterday, we lost a game by 1, 2, and 3.
Well, let's bring
But
Tim,
there was consistency there.
Tim,
we kept
but
losing.
In my opinion, there are about 4 or 5 coaches that make a difference on the good side, 4 or 5 coaches that make a difference on the bad side, and most of the others, the 20-some-odd guys, are somewhere in the middle. Fair or unfair?
Yeah, that's probably fair. I agree with you guys. You got to have the quarterback, you got to have the coach. Those are the difference makers. You got to put guys in the right position. And there's probably a handful of coaches out there who win, a certain amount of games every year just based off, their coaching, the way they coach, the position they put guys in each and every Sunday. So, obviously Belichick is, at the top of that list.
Tim, I'm dying on Stefanski Hill here, and I'm going to keep dying on it. But I can't defend 45 passes and 12 runs for Nick. That's indefensible. Yeah. As the obviously you're not looking at the stat sheet during the game. But as the quarterback, do you ever go to the play caller in the middle of the game and say, "Hey, I don't think we're feeding Nick enough. Let's get Nick more involved." How much juice do you have to have as a quarterback to go to him, or is that just a natural conversation that takes place?
That's a good ass question.
That's a great question. And, I really think a conversation like that is not going to happen between a backup quarterback and a Stefanski. I think that's more of a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees type of thing where they come to the sideline and say, "Hey, man, you're calling shit plays. Let's start running the football." I think
Tim, that's good.
Aaron Rodgers, guys.
Hey, Tim, let me ask you a question.
Aaron Rodgers did that in the news conference.
Tim, let me ask you a question.
You heard him.
Let me ask you a question, Tim. This is my problem with Stefanski. He got Kareem Hunt on a milk carton. I'm still looking for Kareem Hunt. I don't know where he is, right? He been put away on the shelf somewhere. And then I sit here, you just had a statement. If you know the only thing you really got working is you got a backup quarterback that on a good day is just average, your best thing is in the backfield, but you don't harness your backfield. You don't use your best thing. So this is why my problem is, am I stupid or are you stupid? Right? Because I'm like, the best thing is these dudes in the backfield, but you want to do me something else every week.
Right.
I'm lost. And then another thing, was it me or did it look like Amari Cooper wasn't hustling for catches yesterday?
He made a hell of a catch in the end zone.
Was that me?
He made a phenomenal catch in the end zone.
What about the ones in between?
You know what, though? I think
a lot of those balls were uncatchable.
Here's what's crazy. Bill Belichick, we talked about this all week. The Browns are going to struggle running it. They are.
I talked to someone on the Patriots after the game who said our entire game plan
But they gave up on it.
Our entire game plan was stop Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
and
of course.
And the second part of that was we thank the Browns for not even.
So they only had to do it for a half.
Isn't every team's game plan to stop Nick Chubb?
Yes,
and they can't do
Belichick
it.
does it differently than every team.
Jason, if he would have had enough.
Belichick makes you play like
He still averaged over 5 yards per carry. They gave up on
My
it.
point is the Browns didn't even make the Patriots
Exactly.
go into their game plan.
Right. Exactly.
And that was the second half. If you'd listened, the second half of that was
we
thank the Browns for
not do it for a full game.
making us step to do
Nuggets, do you have my headline?
From last week?
Yeah, you have my headline?
We can pull it up if you give us 1 second.
All right, you go look for it. And so this is the point
I can tell
that
you what
wanted
it is,
to make.
though. I remember it.
Yeah, I do too.
We'll pull it up. Give us
I
1
do
second.
too. But here was the point that I was going to make. We know that Belichick does that. What does he do? He takes away what you do best.
Makes you play left-handed.
That is keep it simple, stupid. It really is.
But he does it better than
he
anyone.
He can do it. He can look at it and say.
No, the Browns allowed
okay.
him to do it, though.
Yes, they
Yes,
did.
but here's the thing. We talked this year about nobody can stop Nick Chubb.
They
He's
can't.
unstoppable.
They can't.
He was stopped yesterday.
No, he wasn't. Kevin Stefanski stopped him.
No, he
But
stopped
he was
him.
stopped.
He averaged over 5 yards per carry.
But he was stopped because he only
By
got the
Kevin
ball.
Stefanski, not by Belichick.
No.
Yes, but he was stopped because he only got the ball.
Yes, Kevin Stefanski stopped him. Yes.
You
Kevin
stopped him for a
Stefanski
half,
stopped him.
and then Stefanski stopped rolling dice.
Here, so
And started
ridiculous.
Started shooting fish in a barrel with a blindfold.
I mean, who does that?
You already know the game plan. The game
Here's
plan.
Jay's headline, by the way,
You know,
which
the game
is our winner of the week.
The game plan is to stop.
Well, that's
to
it.
Stop
I mean,
Nick
he
Chubb.
out-schemed the Browns.
That's the game. stop Chubb. Everybody's game plan. Is it any different than stopping and say,
No, but
let me
Belichick
finish.
does it better than everyone.
Let me finish. Whoever we play, Jason, that's going to be the game plan to stop Chubb. Is it any different than coming to the game and saying, stop Jordan?
Yeah.
He can do it.
But why is Belichick so successful at doing it that way?
When I
Belichick
say
can do it.
we go into the game saying stop Jordan, you think we stop going to Jordan?
No.
Yes.
Right.
To me, it has nothing to do with Belichick, as great as he is.
And Tim, that's what I want to
Stefanski
ask
gagged.
you.
It's nonsense.
I do think
It's not nonsense. They gave up on the run.
I do
It's
think
nonsense.
Nah, I don't think it's nonsense.
That
Chubb
I
did
just
not
stated a
have
fact.
a good game.
He
But
did
he
not have
didn't get the
he
ball.
did not have a.
And that's
what
part
he-
of it.
He
Who controls
averaged over
that?
5 yards per carry.
tell
What do you
you
mean he
who
didn't have a
Who
good game?
controls
The
play calling?
Patriots shut it down in the first half, and we went away from it.
Which was stupid.
It was stupid, but they stopped the run.
McNuggets.
That's a fact.
McNuggets, can we find,
It's a fact that he averaged over 5 yards per carry. That's a fact too.
Stop.
Can
Hey,
we
Jimbo,
find out
what's up?
how
Stopping,
many?
you got to
Hold
stop the
on,
run
hold
for the
on,
whole
hold
game.
on,
He didn't allow it to
12
happen.
carries for 58 yards.
How many
Yeah,
carries?
that's
did-
5 yards per
how-
carry.
It's not more than
Hold
5
on,
yards
hold
per
on,
carry.
hold on.
It's
Hold
4.9.
on.
Sorry.
Bush has a question. G. Bush, what's up?
Can we find out how many carries he had in the first half?
Yeah, I
That's
can tell you.
simple.
Give me 10 seconds. Let
think-
Tim get in here, and I'll pull that up.
it was single digits.
I think it was 9.
It was single digits.
Okay.
Nick Chubb didn't have a big game because they didn't stick with the run. I don't believe it has anything to do with Belichick.
Well, here's what has to do with Belichick. If he had 9 carries for 85 yards, they would have kept feeding him.
That's the players, not Belichick. They did a good job.
Stopped him
Yeah.
because of Belichick's scheme, and it worked. And so, the Browns.
Nick Chubb doesn't have a huge first half
ahead.
every single week.
Go ahead.
No, but
He had
has
9 carries in the first half. His 3 carries in the second half got 21 yards. He had 9
His
carries.
first 2 carries were for 15.
Yes. They
Nine-
stopped it in the first half,
nine-
and Stefanski.
Nine carries ain't
Went
stopping
away
nothing.
from it.
9 carries ain't stopping nothing.
That's
That's the smallest samples. Y'all like y'all love
Yeah.
analytics, but you telling me 9 is a sample size? You
It
died
stopped
on.
it because Kevin thought they stopped it.
Well, that's here we go.
The Jedi mind
tricks.
Yeah.
He done got you all. Listen, when you playing the Patriots, at some point in time, you got to say, yeah, Bill, you done won. But you ain't won nothing since Tom ain't been here.
Come
and I
get
got
this.
the best player in the league.
Come get this.
Stop him.
Come
I
get this.
wholeheartedly agree
And
with
the
you.
Come get this.
And Tim, that's what I was going to ask you was, it was going against Bill Belichick, sort of like golfers that had to play against Tiger Woods in their prime on Sunday, where it gets in your head and you start like Kevin Gate went into that game knowing they're going to try and stop Nick.
Bill
They're
Belichick
going to make us play left-handed. They're going to make us stop Nick. So we're going to go empty because we had success with that last year early. So they went empty again, and it's almost like Belichick has you beat before you even get on the
Threw a
field
pick on the second
because
play of the
he's the
game.
greatest.
That's crazy.
He's the
Yeah.
greatest of all time, and it's like Tiger wearing red on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I think he really gets in these coaches' heads when they're game planning throughout the week. They know that Bill's going to take away their strengths, so they're trying to get really creative, and they kind of get out of what they do best. Like, I know Bill does a great job of scheming things and that, but if I'm calling the plays, I'm giving Nick Chubb at least 25 carries.
Yep.
And I'm going to say,
At least.
you may have stopped him for the first 9. You may have stopped him for the first 12.
Exactly.
But
But,
he's gonna
Nick
break
Chubb,
one.
we all know, gets stronger as the game goes on.
That's
He wears guys down
Yep.
over the course of a game. I'm going to give it to him 25 times. If I lose, I'm going down with the ball in Nick Chubb's hand as many times as I can get it to him.
That's
I'm not getting away from
100%
that
right.
run.
And he
If he
can't
had
figure that
25
out.
carries, he would have 150 yards.
I can't
And no
believe
matter
I
what
agree
Bill
with that.
Belichick did.
That's it right there.
And
That's exactly what it is,
and
right
that's-
there.
And that's my problem with Stefanski. Everyone else can see it. What precludes him from being able to see that?
How? And I don't know the answer to this. I'm not.
And that ain't got nothing to do with D and Jimmy.
And I know that he doesn't come out and say I'm the smartest guy in the room, but to me, when the first 2 plays are passes and the second one is intercepted, he's telling you without using the words, I've got Bill figured out. He's gonna stop the run. I'm gonna go deep. No, you're not.
Right.
Well, I think Bill gets a lot of coaches to outthink themselves, and I will point out, for as much
Yeah,
as we
that's
scream, feed Nick, and I agree, he's second in the league in carries. It's not
Right.
like they don't ever.
Oh, I
use
haven't.
the guy.
These guys have complained about his usage. I haven't before today.
And I don't know
or
this.
yesterday.
I don't
He
know
should be
this.
first in the league because he's the best running back.
I don't, but it's not like they never give it to him.
Right.
And I don't know this as gospel, but I have a suspicion that It's an organizational philosophy from DiPodesta and Barry.
Oh, what?
You only get
I told
this
you he's on a
number
20
of carries.
pitch count. Period.
It's not even Kevin's call.
Well, guess what?
You get this
That's
number of
That's what's wrong with this organization.
And they
Because right there.
And they can get that smoke too.
But-
They ain't insulated.
But
DiPodesta sitting there with his calculator.
But what if Nick Chubb
baseball guy.
But what if Nick Chubb is still playing at this level 4 years from now, 5 years from now, because of that? I'm not
But
saying
what
he
if
will.
But what
I
if
don't
he
know.
won? So here's the question.
Well,
It's
maybe
would you
it's a
rather-
lot once Deshaun's
Here's the
here.
question. It's better have loved and lost than never to have loved at
Well,
all.
and that's-
so here's the question.
and that's the great
you want
debate.
Nick Chubb for 10 years and you're an also-ran, or do you want him for 5 and you win a Super Bowl? That's easy for me.
Just like making a big trade in baseball. You give up the prospect and
yes,
try to win the
But
championship.
Make a run at it.
But this is the new water that we're in the NFL.
Yeah, and I
No
hate
one
it.
has the answer to that.
Hate
We're
it.
figuring it out on the fly.
Yeah.
If Deshaun gets
Well-
here and they go to a Super Bowl and Nick's still
Listen.
performing at a high level 4 or 5 years from now, they may say this was exactly
but
right.
there are-
And if it all falls apart, you're going to go, they were all idiots. But we don't know the answer to that.
But the
yet.
bottom line is
we know the answer.
the bottom line is Nick Chubb's gotten plenty of carries before
Yes.
yesterday. It's
Yes.
been fine in terms of his carries. You could complain maybe you should have more in the fourth quarter, fine. But overall, it's not been way off until this game. This game was ridiculous. He
And
tried.
Kevin admitted that.
Yeah.
Kevin said, I asked him after the game.
Yeah.
I said, is 12 carries enough for Nick? No, it's not. He knew
Here's
it.
a stat
He
for
knew
you
it.
guys, real
And
quick.
give it
Go ahead,
more.
Mikey. Give me the stat.
He is currently second in the NFL with 110 carries. Saquon Barkley of the Giants has 119, but Barkley's taking 14 snaps from the Wildcat formation. So it's 14 rushes. You take those out, traditional handoffs, carries, Nick Chubb does lead the league.
Yeah, but you can't take those out. Like those were plays designed.
I
Yeah,
know
I
what
agree
I'm
with
saying.
Jay on that one.
So
yeah,
it's still
As far
carry.
as the actual carry
No, I know, but
distribution goes,
it's
he's right
fine
there.
that he's second in carries.
Put the
It's not
Wildcat
the end
in.
of
It
the world.
doesn't
but-
matter. It's not like
Yeah, I
you're
know.
completely
Exactly.
ignoring it.
Here-
Here's the difference.
It's a design carry.
Here's the difference. The only thing we are holding is Nick Chubb. That's it. Saquon Barkley, at least Daniel Jones throw the ball, right? You know what I'm saying? They got expectations.
But let me
here.
give you the-
Let me
let me
hear
give you
the other thing I will tell you is this: what I that ties strictly to Stefanski. This team has no life. I looked at Philadelphia; they was energized like nobody's
them dudes,
business
them
last
dudes.
night. Kansas City energized like nobody's business. Buffalo energized. These teams are energized.
these
This team
teams.
is lifeless.
Kansas City lost.
But they were life. They were
It's the
energized.
way you lose.
This is the only other thing I'll say about this. Derrick Henry was a bell cow for the Titans for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Where's Derrick Henry now? Averaging less than 4 yards a carry. Is it him wearing down?
I don't
Is
know.
it
I mean,
the help
Chubb
around
is still
him?
a bell cow. He's getting tons of
But
carries.
he's not getting the number of carries that Derrick Henry was getting a couple
Jason.
years ago.
Jason.
That's my point.
Right.
Running
Henry
back.
was getting 35.
Evan
Nobody
Smith
cared.
got a million carries. He was great for many
I'm on
years.
your side of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm
No,
saying
but
for
yeah.
everyone else who's
Yeah.
screaming that
Yeah,
feed
it's
Nick,
fine.
feed
It's
Nick,
fine.
feed Nick. Okay, well
Yeah.
the Titans
We're
fed
feeding-
Nick,
we're
or
feeding-
the Titans fed Derrick Henry,
We're
and
feeding
now
Nick-
Derrick Henry's
we're
burned
feeding
out
Nick because we have
already.
nothing else. That's why.
If he get burned out, so what?
Tim, what's the?
You talking to the wrong dude. Ohio State dude. That's all we do is
Tim,
run
I
the
got
ball.
time for one more
This is
question
the
with
last
Tim, then we got
question.
to bring a DD
Tim,
in.
this is a philosophical question. It's this nonsense that the guys that are controlling the sport right now are Ivy Leaguers with calculators that have decided that. And by the way, if you're going to use analytics, you also might take a look at the fact that Belichick stopped Detroit all 6 times on their 4th down tries last week.
Well, you don't think
That's why
Belichick uses analytics? Of course he does.
No,
He
no.
does, but he uses his gut too. He
Right.
doesn't let analytics drive everything that he does.
I don't
And
think
my
any- I
point
don't think
to
any
you, Tim,
coach
is
does.
If he's on a 20 carry pitch count, which I think he is, I show me the proof that how many times he's gone over that. Is that right to set a number before a football game? Because it wipes out the notion that you would stay with what is working if it's really
Right.
working. And I think that's hurt the Browns this year on a number of occasions.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. You know, my thing on is, remember what Herm Edwards said in his famous press conference years ago, you play to win the game, right? So you may go into the game saying we're going to keep Nick on a 20 pitch count runs or whatever, but you get into the game, you get into the flow of the game, you're like, the quarterback is not doing anything. The quarterback's not helping us. Give him the ball.
Right.
Like, I don't care if you got to give him to him 25 or 30 for that game. You got to do what you got to do to win that particular game. Next week, if you want to try to keep him get back on that count again, then you can do that. But I think, the philosophy is, you go out and you do what you got to do to win that game. And they certainly didn't give Nick Chubb the opportunity to go out and keep them in it and keep drives alive and give him the carries that he needs to do what Nick Chubb does.
Tim, I'll leave you with this thought. Imagine if Belichick had Chubb and Hunt. And that's how I'll say
Oh,
goodbye,
yeah.
and we'll see you next Monday. Imagine that. Tim
I
Couch.
hope we're all in a better mood next Monday, guys.
Yeah, I don't
All
have
right,
my
Tim.
hopes. I don't have my
See you
hopes.
guys.